I want to ask you, man, because I think a lot of people can relate to this. There's a saying, I've actually gotten this advice from my in-laws as well. Going to bed angry. You know that saying, don't ever go to bed angry, like one of the keys to a successful relationship.
Yeah.
Do you buy that?
Nope.
You don't?
I don't buy it. No, 0%.
Why is that?
I don't buy it at all because you can't make a decision or you can't make a statement that is blanket for everybody. And what I mean by that is when I was in my last relationship, my ex would like to take time to gather her thoughts and think about the situation. Me, I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go now. You know what I mean? And if I'm dating someone that is not that type of individual that's ready to go now, they may say something out of character. They may say something that they may forgot to have said something that they really wanted to say. You just don't never know. And so I think that is bad advice because you can't have a blanket statement. Now, what I do agree with is this. Being peaceful before you go to bed. Don't go to bed saying, F you, and then go to bed, right? Say something more along the lines of,
That's
hey,
hard to do.
It is, but this is, I mean, a relationship of any caliber is hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think a better thing to say is, hey, yeah, I'm pissed off right now. I would love to talk about it tomorrow or the next day.
I feel you.
And you can say that and go to bed. Don't have malice behind the words when you say it because it's about the inflections, right? 80% of communication is body language. So I think that's a fair thing to say in comparison to F you and go to bed, you know?
Yeah.
What about you?
It's funny because what you mentioned about your ex, I was more like her where I needed to, go off to the side, maybe gather my thoughts, cool down a little bit. Rachel, her conflict resolution style was that she wanted to handle it now. So we've gotten to, we've adapted and like now we know each other a lot more when it comes to that. But as far as going to bed angry, I don't necessarily think it's bad advice. Like I think it's nice in theory and it's definitely something to strive for, but
I feel like
I feel like at the end of the day, it's not real life, right? Like sometimes arguments are just too heated and too complicated to figure it all out in one night. Like it's happened in my relationship with Rachel and it's happened in past relationships as well. Sometimes sometimes it was like we're just too damn tired, right? Like we have this argument at night, it gets contentious. Yeah, it gets contentious. We want to go to bed because we have to wake up early and be productive, right? So sitting there and unpacking everything, we got to get this right before we go to bed and unpacking everything. It could lead to more arguing and just, you going around in circles once again. So I believe that sometimes you just have to take a beat, collect your thoughts and just pick up things where, when tempers have cooled off a bit and, really try to come back to the table with peace and resolution on your mind and just seeing things from the other person's perspective. And vice versa, right? Like look yourself in the mirror, see where you went wrong in the conversation, right? Like what are you guilty of? And hopefully the other person could do the same thing. And when you guys come together, whether that's a day later, 2 days later, 3 days later, you finally resolve it. But,
I like that piece. 3 days is like, hey, you got 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to take forever on it. And you made a great point about it's not real. It's not real life.
Yeah.
If person X cheats on you, for example, you ain't going to bed happy.
Yeah.
It's not happening. Like before I cuss your ass, cuss you out, I need to gather my thoughts before I come at you crazy.
I mean, if anything, it could maybe even be like unhealthy and give you like a false sense of security, right? Like it's like you have a huge argument and then it's like, oh, we got to make peace before we go to bed. I'm sorry. But then you still have those lingering feelings and that possibly comes out in a blowout fight later on down the line because you're still not over it. Like I'd rather take the time to get over stuff, really work things out in my head and then come together and work it out between the two of us and really resolve it. You know what I'm saying? Than just, patching it up and then, having it blow up later. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Just patching it up for PC because some people are not conflict. I'm not afraid of conflict, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, via my social. Some people rather just not deal with conflict. And those people are just as beautiful, They really just not deal with conflict at all. So what you're saying is exactly what they may do is just you may make somebody shut down, which is, as we both know, the worst thing within relationships is to just shut down.
Yeah. Right? No, you want to give that person space to be themselves and be able to communicate.
I'm going to tell my children when they get married, hey, Dad, what's good advice? I'm not going to say, don't go to bed angry. No, F that. I'm going to say, make sure you have your thoughts gathered before you come to your partner. whether that takes an hour or 3 days. And I feel that also, with that being said, make sure you know your partner. And when you know your partner, you got to continue to remember it. You can't forget it 7 years down the road.
Yep.
Or know who they are now. They may have changed. That's all that.